I wasn't going to start my podcast this month. I'm doing my agentic web series of talks, and that was going to keep me busy. But then Google made their announcement about AI search, and suddenly I've got a lot to say about it because I didn't think it would come this quickly. I knew it would be coming, but I didn't think it would be this summer that we were all able to make our own agents to go and watch stuff for us and report back if it finds something that it's monitoring for us, or that we'd be making our own gadgets and dashboards and apps to make our own fitness plans and exercise plans all in Google. And I was doing the talk this afternoon. It was the first part of my agentic web series, and it was about getting your brand to be the one that AI always goes to, rather than just like how to get your odd mentions or whatever, how to like this whole thing about being consistent. And I'll put some links in the description for this about where you can watch that one. It's about the overall big picture of what you need to keep in mind about being reliable and trustworthy. So it's like the EAT stuff, the expertise and the trustworthiness, but it's also the technical reliability and all of that sort of stuff, and being consistent with your messaging everywhere. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that today. I was talking about that this afternoon. And suddenly I was like, oh, this stuff that Google was doing in its March core update, really emphasizing EAT, like putting even more of an emphasis than ever before on expert stuff. That's what AI wants. And we knew that the things Google were doing were things that AI wanted. But now it's like, oh, that's really, really why you wanted it in March, because you're going to be really, really pushing us into this from like next week. And the other one was about how, oh yeah, in our monitoring tool, we see a lot of websites. We're monitoring all these websites for people of how they're doing and alerting them when anything shifts and stuff. And they're all falling off the cliff of speed because they're all fine. And then in March, Google moved the goalposts, and Google made it what was okay. It was now in the red because it wanted you faster. And then this afternoon, I'm doing my talk about how you've got to make sure your site is fast because it costs LLMs so much money to like run, and the retrieval layer of AI that's going to get the information, because there's two levels of information of like the original model and then the retrieval layer on top that's going to grab all the fresh stuff and basically constantly carrying out due diligence on you all the time. That needs you to be super snappy. And I was like, of course. And so Google going to AI so soon, that's why they really have pushed us in March to make sites even faster, just to save them a shed ton load of money. And all the publishers that are going to have to try and do that, they're not going to be getting anything back. So it was a few months ago that I said to some clients who really need traffic because they're about advertising, you've got to build up, you've got to work on your other ways of getting people in your ecosphere. That's always been a thing. It's not like I only told them that a couple of months ago, but that was when I was really like, come on, quick, before Google would take away your traffic, you need to be getting people to stay on your site. We need to do this, and giving them ideas about stuff. And yeah, we've been rolling those things out. But was it in time? Will they build up enough momentum of people using these services before Google makes some way for people to do that themselves with these agentic things? Anyway, that's all that side of the thoughts of it. But my main thing is, how are Google going to make any money? So they make so much money from ads. So there's Google Ads, where you pay to be featured in the search results. And there's AdSense. Probably has a different name nowadays, but AdSense is what I know it as, which is where Google are this massive ad network, and not only do you pay to be featured in search results, you can then get those ads featured across other websites. So when you go on a cookery website and you want to get to the actual point of the recipe, and you're scrolling through all those ridiculous ads, they quite often are placed there by Google. There are lots of other ad networks, but Google is a big one. And people click on them, and Google get a cut, and the website owner gets a cut, and that's why they put ads on their site. But Google take a cut, and yeah, if they're not sending people to websites, this has been my thing for a year. If they're not sending as much traffic to publishers, and a year strongly, but then ever since they did rich snippets and everyone was starting to worry that clicks were going down, they're not sending people to websites, they're not going to make any money from AdSense. And if they're really pushing AI, they're not going to make any money from ads in there. So how are they going to make their money? And yes, they can go down the ChatGPT line of having sponsored links in amongst the AI content, and we'll have to see what people think of that. OpenAI, sorry, ChatGPT think they're doing nicely from it, and that people are fine with it, and that they're being very clear on their settings, that people can sort of control what they see, and crucially, OpenAI are really strongly pushing the point that they don't influence what you read. ChatGPT's answer isn't influenced by the little ad you see at the bottom. They're not only going to recommend the people that they're showing the ads for. And that's good. Obviously, that's good. But will that always be the case? Will Google actually decide that people don't bother clicking on the little ad boxes, or they stand out too much? And actually, they do need some money to power this beast. And so if you pay them enough, you will get featured in the AI overview. You will be talked about in the main answer that it's giving you. And in which case, that is a really, really stark contrast to the fact that AI always wants to give the right answer. And this is why the way to get found in AI is to have a really clear picture of yourself across the web and be corroborated by other sources and cited everywhere and have really good reviews, so that AI can sort of feel reassured that it is giving the best suggestion in you. But will that intention shift a little bit when they kind of need to monetize it? If it was like another product, I would think it was just the tech bros getting super excited by what they can do, because some of what Google are going to do does sound epic. It's like, say you were Googling, the example that I was reading on TechCrunch was that you were Googling a black hole and it tells you about it, and then it shows you like some visual, and then you ask a question of like, oh, but what is that star doing? So then it like zooms in and shows you that star and turns it all around, and it can, if what you were asking made sense for it to be on a chart, it would just put it on a chart. If you said, well, I want to see this as an animation, it would make an animation. It's making it like a really immersive experience. It's what Google have always wanted us to do with our pages. They've always said, give a mix of multimedia, not always, but for a long time, said give a mix of multimedia. Some people like video, some people like pictures, some people like bullet points, some people like audio, some people just want blocks of text. Make your pages really mixed so that it's something for everyone. But now Google are just delivering that themselves. And so that is really cool. And so working with developers every day, as I do, I'm being married to one, I get that when it's cool, you just want to play with the toys and you just want to do it. But I just assume Google search, the search team aren't going to just do stuff because it's cool when they are such a massive company. They must have a serious plan there. And yes, they're trying to make me pay for email. They're always trying to upsell their email at the moment. So I have for over 20 years used Gmail's free email and never seen a reason to move it. And I have it all set up to run through my domain and everything, but it's free. And they're really trying to get me to pay for it. And so maybe they will move towards paying for like ChatGPT and Claude, like you pay a monthly subscription to their AI. So we just need to see how that goes. Something just beeped and put me off, but I think I know what that is. So yeah, the other thoughts are that Meta ads could benefit well from this, because they're already doing really well, aren't they? Was this like last month they overtook Google ads for the first time or came close to it or something like that? Something that suggests Meta ads. So that's ads that appear on Facebook and Instagram are storming it. And for brands that want to really put their message and their ad across, potentially in a visual, potentially in a video, that is the platform. Those are the platforms for them to do it now. As much as Facebook Ad Manager is like the absolutely worst experience you could ever possibly imagine to go through on a website, obviously not in life, but it's really awful. But you do it because you get your brand and your message and your tone and everything across. And in an AI overview, there might be a little subtle link to you. Hopefully, there will still be little subtle links to us so people can go and read more. But for the businesses who are reliant on traffic, and they're not just like a service be recommended, they kind of want to get their brand across, then yeah, I think Meta ads could do well from this. So people who are dropping in Google traffic, and we don't know yet quite how the advertising is going to work and the monetization side of Google is going to work, I think Meta ads could do quite well from it. The other thing is that I was out for breakfast this morning with some friends, and they don't work in what we do. One of them in web stuff, in marketing stuff. One of them works in retail, like customer service, and the other one is a teacher. And they were saying, yeah, they don't really like it anyway. They don't rely that the answers will be true. They still want to Google it. They don't want to not Google it. When you could to get the actual website. They still want to click on the links. They still want to go and read it for themselves. And I've seen people today saying that they're going to use these alternative search engines. I can't remember the name of the main one that I've seen a lot lately in different. I'm going to see if I can find it or something here. I've seen it come up in people's Google Analytics that people are using it as a way of finding different things. But let's see if I've got it here handy. I probably haven't. But yeah, it might give other search engines a chance, basically, because I'm not sure that all people are really ready. Oh, Ecosia, Ecosia. I don't know how you say it. Ecosia. So it could give other search engines a chance, because my point that I'm trying to get to is that maybe the public aren't quite ready for what Google's doing. So when ChatGPT launched ChatGPT Shopping, or when OpenAI launched ChatGPT Shopping, they rolled it out and then no one used it. So they rolled it back again and they took it offline in like March. So I wonder if we're all in this little AI technology bubble and we all think that AI is like ruling the world. And then you go and talk to someone who works in a hotel and they're just like not using it, not aware of it, it's not a big part of their world. It's certainly not in their day-to-day life. So yeah, maybe Google will find that they have overshot how ready people are for it, and actually it won't work. But will Google roll it back? Or whereas ChatGPT rolled back shopping because people weren't ready for it, a Google mainstream enough that it will force people along. A Google in a stronger position with ChatGPT was only being used by people who are ready to adopt AI. Google is used by everyone. Is Google basically going to force everyone to move into AI perhaps quicker than they would have done otherwise? Google is going to be that thing that like moves them forward. I just noticed the time and I've actually got to move on because I need to go and pick some girls up from a performing arts club. But I'm just going to check in my notes that there was nothing else that I didn't mention about. But just the fact that you'll still, hopefully, if you want to get mentioned in these AI results, you're going to want to be producing original data, original research, genuine experience-based content. The thing is, we need to see if that does actually do you any good. Does anyone click through to read it, or is Google just going to grab it? A client today said, "Oh, we need to make all our tabular data. We need to put it on all these tables so Google can use it." And I was like, "Yes, you do, but do you? You do because you want Google to cite you. You want to stand a chance that there's a link there to you. But when you do that, Google's just going to cite it all, and someone might not even bother to click through. So you're like, damned if you do and damned if you don't, because you need to keep up with Google, but Google's just going to send less and less and less people to you. So, yeah, that is that really. I'm going to be watching Google's ads, how they act over the next 2 quarters. I'm curious to whether Google introduces some kind of paid tier for AI. If you have got clients on SEO retainers built on informational content, the whole evergreen content thing is a thing we can talk about another day because there's a lot to talk about in that. But yeah, if you've got any thoughts about this whole Google thing, if you think it's a mistake, if you think it's too soon, if it's sooner than you were expecting, if you think the wider world outside of our tech marketing web bubble is ready for it, yeah, let me know what you think. All right, thank you. Bye.